Sarah Green, divorce care specialist, will be sharing insights on the art of allowance, an inspiring look at the balance between the drive to go get it as business owners and the power that comes from pausing, sitting still, and allowing opportunities to come to us.
Before I get into that, I want to do one little thing. I want everybody to kind of sit, check in with your body, so you're feeling right now. And then I would like for you to think about a time you were super excited. Maybe you won an award. Maybe you were a little kid and your parents were like, hey, we're going to Six Flags tomorrow. And you were like, yes. Think about that moment, whatever that was. And then check in and see how you feel. It's an instant shift. All right. It's an instant shift. So, yeah. So we're just going to put a pin in that because we're going to talk about that later. I also don't know if I have enough worksheets. So when we get to the worksheet portion of this talk, if you have like a notebook or a phone or whatever, and you want to share with your neighbors, that would be awesome. So, okay. So like Christy said, I'm Sarah Green. So I came to this work. I was a mom for 20 years, stay-at-home mom for 20 years. I have 3 children. My youngest was adopted from foster care. The call to become a foster parent had kind of always been there, but I decided in 2010 to act on that. We went through the whole process. We got licensed. I actually got licensed 3 days before my son, who is now my son, was born. When my license came through, he was placed with me on Valentine's Day. That work of stepping into a calling and doing the hard work of, I had lots of kids in my home. I had a lot of hard kids. Changed who I was. It made me more willing to go do hard things. It made me understand how important it is when we have a calling, something inside of us that says, ooh, yeah, this is for me, that we should go do this thing. Because receiving those children into my home, becoming a mother to my son, completely changed my life. Completely changed my life. After I did that for a while, the domestic foster care, I stepped into doing refugee foster care, which, if you didn't know, is a thing. You can foster kids from other countries that are coming here on a visa. They're usually teenagers. So over a period of time, I had 13 kids, both from locally here, all over the world. Still have relationships with most of those children. Then I started to go, okay, well, how do I serve more? You know, like, you'd only have so many kids in your house, right? How do I serve more? And so that led me to an experience where my oldest son, I have 4 kids, so it's hard to keep track. My oldest son had severe anxiety, severe debilitating anxiety. And somebody said, hey, look, I know you don't want to medicate him. There's this lady and she does like this energy work stuff, and maybe try that. So I took him to her. She healed him. She fixed it in an hour. He came out and he was like, I'm fine. And I went, how do I do that? Like, how does she do that? So that took me down the road of, for my, my work in foster care and my own children, how do I heal trauma and not medicate symptoms? And so that led me into doing and starting my business doing energy work. Around that time, I realized that I couldn't be who I needed to be in my marriage. I was with my kid's dad for 15 years. We are still great friends, but I couldn't be the person that I needed to be and stay in that marriage. It was being married to him was making me have to deny parts of myself that I couldn't pretend didn't exist, right? So we amicably divorced, really amicably. We went through a mediation process, a collaborative divorce process, and really did a good job, like, co-parenting with our kids. I still talk to him every day. We're buddies. He gets on my nerves. I get on his. It's okay. We worked through it. After I did that, so I had my little baby energy healing business. I've been a stay-at-home mom for 20 years. I had no idea how to make money. I had no idea how to run finances because I had given that to my husband, which is the number one mistake that women make. You don't know where your money is. You don't know what your balances are. You don't know what the logins are. And then you need to leave that marriage and you have no resources. The other person can hide stuff because you don't know where it is. So I just beg you, if you're in a relationship or a marriage, the number one thing I would say is have some idea what the resources are, know the logins, periodically check, make sure money isn't getting moved, because we see that in the work that I'm doing now. Yeah, it's like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like, I'm gonna have to, figure it out. So I did. I figured it out. I built my business. I built a clientele. I worked for the school where I did my energy work training. And I remember the year that I made more money than my ex-husband that I had been financially dependent on. That was a great year. In this, I also made another terrible mistake, and I'm always open and vulnerable about my mistakes because if I don't share them, then other people can't learn from them, right? So I met and married a retired professional skateboarder. It went exactly like you think it would go. Exactly like you think it would go. He also had a child that was 2 years older than my youngest child, and that made me a stepmom. Which, if you ask most women that are stepmoms currently if they would ever sign up to be a stepmom again, they would tell you no. It is absolutely one of the hardest and most brutal things you can do to blend a family. And in that process of trying to figure out, this is a high conflict situation. A stepson's mom was not nice. She did not like me, you know. And I thought, I'm like, I've raised all these children. I've raised other people's children. I've adopted from foster care. I've been a mom to all this, worked with all these birth parents. Like, I got this. I got the lock. I did not have it. Did not have it. I did every mistake that a stepmom can do. I overinserted myself. I pushed for things that weren't my place to push for. I tried to make things happen that were not mine to make happen. I did all the things. And I recognized that it wasn't working. What I was doing was not working in my family. It was really causing a lot of issues and a lot of heartache. So I went because I am self-aware and I want to do work on myself and I've done all this work on myself. I went and looked for help and there was none. There was no good qualified help for me to learn how to be a better stepmother. I went to one therapist and she said, "Well, honey, you just got to let go and let God." And I said, "That sounds so good. Can you tell me how to do that? Like, what do I do first? And then what do I do?" She didn't have an answer. She couldn't tell me how to let go and let God. Well, that's not helpful. If I'm going to somebody, I'm asking for help and I'm saying they're telling me to do something, but they can't tell me how to do it, you're not helping me. So I started to read. And if you're in this process, Step Monster is a wonderful, wonderful book. I started to read. I started to do a lot of looking at the way I was looking at situations, the way I was looking at things, my views, my mindset, the things that I just believe to be true without any factual basis. I started looking at all of those things. And in that process, I educated myself. I think we're the most powerful when we become the person that we need someone else to be, because I needed someone to tell me. Nobody would. I learned how to tell myself. When that started happening, I started working a lot with blended families because I'm like, wow, this is great information. I wish I'd had this. I wish I had known these things. I wish somebody had been able to teach me how to step back. I think that's where the word step comes from, is that we need to step back and let the parents parent. So often I think, and there's no men in here, one of the big mistakes that I see men do when they go into a blended family situation is these men, they just go, okay, here's my kids. Here's my child. And we as women go, I've got it. I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to do it so good. And we start doing all the laundry and all the school running and all the chores for the kid and all the homework and we're doing all of these things for these children that aren't our own, but yet we're not allowed to discipline or have an opinion about how things should go. It's breaching the quiet. Yeah. So this is a problem, I think, in our men sometimes in our blended families and we don't even recognize it because we're moms and we're women. So we just, I'll do it. You know, I will do all the things, you know? And so if we're blending families or if we have friends that are blending families, this is an important conversation to have. These men were doing all of these things before you showed up. They know how to do baths. They know how to make lunches. They know how to do all this stuff. It is maybe not your job. Be mindful of what you take on. So after that, marriage ended in a fiery hot ball of poop. I mean, it was a fiery hot. I like pushing him out of the house on a Friday, and I had filed for divorce by Monday, and luckily I'm educated, knew how to file it myself, and we got divorced on our anniversary. So that was a lovely little ending, you know. After that ended, I realized I was tired. I was really, really tired. Since 2010, I had, fostered all of these kids. With my oops husband, as I call him, I had started and run my own. That was a cool thing. We ran a skateboarding nonprofit for at-risk youth, and we brought mindfulness and nutritional awareness and life skills to kids through skateboarding in different community centers. But I run the nonprofit. I opened a skate shop. That was cool. I GC'd and demoed and whatever, and opened the skate shop, and it was really cool. And he ran into the ground, but it was really cool. There was a lot of arguments. This is when I was really learning how to step out of stuff, right? And so there are all these arguments about how I was running this shop. And so I was like, okay, fine, you do it. And we were closed within 6 months. Yeah, but it was a cool experience to have, right? It's good to know when to let things go, you know? So after all of the step parenting and the foster parenting and the 2 divorces and the whatever, I was exhausted. And I decided when that marriage ended, I was going to do nothing for a year. I'm like, I'm not doing anything. I'm going to do I'm going to see my clients. I'm not going to try to get more. I got a little money in the bank. My grandmother died, left me a little money so I could afford to rest. You know, I invested it wisely. Divorced women, if you get a chunk of money, after a divorce, put it somewhere where it's going to make you some money. And I did nothing. I just did what was in front of me, what I had to do. I parented what I had to parent. And I went at, and did what I had to, but I did not actively pursue anything. I did a little dating. I was like, yeah, this doesn't feel good. It's not fun. In that process of like doing nothing, I was like, I'm just going to do nothing and I'm just going to see what shows up. What's the thing that's going to show up for me? And then I will decide if I'm going to say yes. Right. So my oldest daughter was like, Mom, you should get on this dating app. Like, and you're sitting around the house a lot. And I told a few of you guys, I would order cake on Friday night, some Paris baguette and champagne. And I would eat cake in my bed. And I was enjoying so much living by myself. It was so great. um, so did a little dating, decided, yeah, this feels like even more work than I'm wanting to do. In that process, I had connected with a gentleman. Um, we had a date planned, and I said, I'm tired. Like, the last 13 years have been really hard. I'm tired. I don't think this feels like a lot of effort. I don't think I want to do it. And he was like, well, can I at least have your number? I can't believe like you're canceling our date. Can I have, your number? And I'm like, yeah. So I gave him my number. A couple weeks later, he said, do you want to meet for coffee? And I said, yeah, I'd love to meet for coffee. Do I have 5 minutes total or 5 minutes until the Q&A? Okay, good, perfect. Um, So I said, okay, fine. I will meet you at the coffee shop because he's like, Ken, you want to have some coffee? I'm coming in my pajamas and you have to come to the coffee shop at the end of my street. And that was our first date. We've been together 2 years, you know, because the most beautiful gift in all of this, I'm doing nothing, is that I stopped trying to do all the things and be all the things for all of the people. And I let things come to me. And when I was in this space of receptiveness and not, as women in business, we are constantly going to get. We're constantly, what's the next thing? We're constantly in our masculine energy of action and going and hunting and killing. But if we're in our feminine of receiving, really cool stuff shows up. He went on 12 trips last year. He opens all my doors. He lives with me now. He does all the laundry, all the cooking, all the cleaning, all the whatever. And I just like learned how to receive. I learned how to receive after all of these years of going and doing. And it is magical and miraculous when we maybe just take a break from going and getting everything and letting things come to us and then going, yeah, this feels good in my body. I think I'm going to say yes to this thing. We forget to do this when we're in business. We forget to allow ourselves to see what shows up. I had my most profitable year in my business the year I did nothing. I didn't work for anything. I met Renee. I was like, maybe we could do something else. I'm kind of burned out. I'm just going to kind of see what's out there. I have this fabulous job with this fabulous law firm helping people to level that I never thought that I could with this incredible team. And I didn't really go get it. It kind of came to me. It kind of happened. doing this podcast. I'm doing my mission, which has always been to serve children and families and make a world a better place to do that on an even bigger, stronger level. It feels like I'm not really efforting a lot because I love it. So you have your little sheet in front of you. Like I said, there's a lot of this today. I wasn't expecting so many. So, this is a process I take my clients through a lot. One of my favorite books is Byron Katie's Loving What Is. I hear the audiobook version is incredible. This is a process that we go through where we're examining our thought processes. So I want you to take a belief that you hold. For me, my belief was I have to produce in order to be valuable. That was a core belief because the way I grew up, I have to do and produce in order to be valuable. And so if you take any core belief that you have, any belief system, like I have to do this, or this is the way things are, and we start asking ourselves these 4 questions, I run through this still every day in some form or another. If I run my children through it, they're sick of hearing about it. But this thing that we're thinking, is it true? Is it true that in order for me to be valued, I have to go get? Now, what is true is that we are children of God and we are valuable all the time, not when we're doing things. Our worth is not defined by what we produce, what we make, it's by our existence. And the next question is, can I absolutely know this is true? A lot of times we'll stop ourselves in the first 2. We're like, I'm thinking something. It's not even true. I'm making decisions and moving my life based on untruth or something that I can't know is true. This is not how we want to live. Our culture, there's so many ingrained things that tell us these things are true and they're not. What happened inside me is, oh, I have to work harder. I have to produce more. I have to do more for more people. I have to exhaust myself to the point of being resentful to be valuable. Untrue. Untrue. And then who are we without that thought? That's the last one, right? Yeah. Who would I be? Who would I be is I'm a person who now knows the value of rest. I'm a person who now knows the value of receiving. I'm a person who now knows that when I do nothing, I'm still loved. I'm a person that now knows I don't necessarily have to go get all of the things because the things that are meant for me will come to me if I allow myself to receive them, if I allow myself to get help from other people, from the universe, from my friends, from my community. All of this changes who we are. We change our thoughts. Okay. Some had questions. I work with people all over the process and not just our clients. So I can work with anybody. I can work with other firms' clients. I like to get people when they're thinking about it to prepare, because that's when I'm like, hey, get those statements, get those documents, get all your ducks in a row. Let's think about the timing of this. So anywhere in the process, after custody modifications, blended family stuff, obviously I love that. Yeah. Mm. Yes.
Could you tell me more about this podcast?
Yeah, it's called Counsel and Community. There's a QR code for that on there. And so it's Brett Nelson, the founder, and I talking about his decades of experience in family law with myself as kind of the mental health component. And it's just a conversation about all the different things that happen. We do wills, estates, trust, we do business law. We're going to be covering all of that. The podcast just launched a couple months ago. But yeah, I would appreciate anybody here would maybe follow us on TikTok or download the podcast, take a listen, share with people. And that would be really great because I really do feel like there's very good information here. And we are not a firm that wants people to get divorced. We are a firm that wants to serve people, which is why I identify, because that's my whole life's been about service. And so we're really about serving people. And so we're giving people tips to stay married and to build stronger families in that process through that cast as well.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.